are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hating, greed, and jealousy. We are working to be free.
We can feed on every need. We can feed on every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need.
Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building. We're building a new way. Yeah, I heard it. We're building us a new way. Yeah, I heard it on the front line. That we're building us a new way.
You are the new day, the new day. I will love you more than me and more than yesterday. If you can but prove to me you are the new day. Send the sun in time for dawn. Let the birds all hail the morning. Love of life will urge me, say, you are the new day. When I lay me down at night, knowing we must fade, thought occur that this night might stay yesterday. Thoughts that we as humans small could slow worlds and end it all. Lie around me where they fall before the new day. One more day when time is running out for everyone. Like a breath I knew would come, I reach just needs days in which to be. Love of life means hope for me, born on a new day. You are the new day. You are the new day.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Shine, let it shine. Oh, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Walk down that lonesome road all by yourself. Don't turn your head back over your shoulder, and only stop to rest yourself when the silver moon is shining high above the trees. If I had stopped to listen once or twice, if I had closed my mouth and opened my eyes, if I had cooled my head and warmed my heart, I'd not be on this road tonight. Carry on, never run feeling sorry for yourself. It doesn't save you from your troubled mind. Walk down that line.
yourself. Don't turn your head back over your shoulder, and only stop to rest yourself when the silver moon is shining high above the trees.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta and our live stream worship. It has been a very heavy week with pain and anger and rage, but also full of pride and hope. All three of our hymns this morning are hymns of the civil rights era, and all three of the hymns speak of a time when things will change, where change is not something that could happen, but something that is inevitable, that we shall overcome. Our first hymn is We Shall Overcome Someday. You know, every time we've done this song in my 12 years here, and I'm sure it predates me, when it gets to the second verse, everyone has held hands. And I hope you will just hold that with you as we sing this song together. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall all be free someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my So glad you're all here with us this morning as we sing for peace.
Good morning. Thank you, Don. Welcome to Sunday morning worship with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. I am Reverend Taryn Strauss, and I am so grateful to be with you in this week of rage, heartbreak, fury, and yes, hope. Wherever you are from, whomever you love, whatever path you are on, you are welcome to worship with us. And we are now worshiping live stream. Our staff are now working from home and can be reached via email. You can see what all we have to offer on our website, and we have a weekly email that goes out with information about our programs and our actions for justice during this time and beyond. Our Good Enough Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. and other programs that we bring to you during this pandemic. This morning, we invite you into a time of reflection, prayer, artistic expression, and spiritual foundation for the work of dismantling white supremacy in our nation, our community, and our hearts. This will be hard, we know. As the song says, the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Our faith tells us we will get there. We have invited UUCA members and leaders, Shawna Floyd and Cabello the layman, to this morning's worship to offer their creative truth to this worship. And we will hear this morning a story for all ages from our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Laura Beth Brown, that discusses George Floyd's brutal death in detail. I wanted you to know that so that if you are inviting your children to our Story for All Ages today, you are prepared. We make a commitment to speak the truth in love. That is part of our work, and that is part of what we can do in community, in religious community. I also wanted to let you know that today we had scheduled a teacher appreciation for the end of our worship service. We love our RE teachers. We appreciate their work, their mentorship, and we will honor their work soon, probably in next week's worship service, as we also want our worship to be incredibly responsive to the moment we are all living through. So we thank you, RE teachers, and we will thank you even more in another week. Thank you for your grace and flexibility. I did want you to know about our UU Minecraft virtual summer camp for rising 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. It begins on Friday, June 19th, and continues on Fridays through July, with a final virtual gathering on Saturday, August 8th. Families, you can look for details and registration link coming your way. I want to say something about this UU Minecraft. A young congregant, Zachary Lanterman, has created this virtual UU world. It's a UU Minecraft world. Now, I don't really understand Minecraft, but the world that he has built is beautiful. It is inspiring. It has been an emotional experience for some of the people who have seen this world, of rainbow sheep and righteous rivers, all of our values reflected in this incredible world that he built. And so I just want to lift up that prophetic creativity that Zach is bringing to our congregation, our community. Please reach out to Jason Delaney with more questions about the UU Minecraft camp. And Jason Delaney's email should be going into our live stream chat right about now, I think, and I believe, and I trust. Now that our worship is happening virtually, we want to invite you to our Zoom social hour immediately following the service. If you have not already, please sign up to receive an invitation to this Zoom social hour by following the link in your weekly update email, or you can follow a link that's being provided right now in the live stream chat. So if you are a visitor and you don't get our weekly update, please join us. We will want to talk with you and have discussions together after this worship service. And I will be coming to one of those Zoom rooms as well. And now, through the live chat, I hope you know that we can express love, care, and support for each other. During this time, it is more important to express that than ever before. I invite you into that sweetness in our live stream chat. Please take a moment now to welcome each other, to worship, and to welcome anyone who may be visiting for the first time into this morning's worship. Once again, we are so glad you have all chosen to worship with us this morning. It's time to get out your chalices at home and light your chalice along with me as we say our chalice lighting words together that are on your screen. May the light of this flame illuminate our tradition of seeking. Invite all who yearn for acceptance and ignite our passion for justice and peace. And the movement prayer, I think, is the next thing. So I want to introduce
The Reinhardt family.
Reinhardt family. That's right, the Reinhardt family, who are going to lead us in a beautiful movement prayer. Please stand as you are willing and able and join us in our movement prayer this morning.
First, we bow to honor the spirit of life. We lift our arms and embrace the gifts of spirit. We bring these gifts unto ourselves with gratitude and breathe and smile. We share these gifts with the world. We remember to be present. Honor. Embrace, gratitude, share, be present.
The death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery is heartbreaking. However, their deaths and the moment of their deaths is a moment we must live in constantly and repeatedly in order for any change to occur. Yeah. This country make you feel like black lives never mattered. Look at history and see it all fits a pattern. Seeing George Floyd lifeless got me out here snapping. Wonder like Stevie, can I go on move to Saturn? They wanna kill us all, I'm saying bump that. I find my ground, if you bustin' then I bust back. Fight for the future, Rosa Parks gave me that bus pass. Fight for the family and people you can trust that. Centuries of free labor and we still waiting. No jobs or health care, you wonder why we ain't got patience. If you black and bellyache, you get a hot mess. No humanity, they say trust in the process. Built on our backs, dripping with blood. Now we've been swept under rugs and hooked on drugs. Walk with a chip on our shoulders, it won't budge. Wanna be non-violent, but where is the love? It's like, how many times must we keep seeing black death? Burn the page up cause it feel like nothing's left. Becoming one with the pain ancestors wept. We shedding tears in our soul quiet as it's kept.
Why you treat me so bad?
I don't know why, baby.
Why you treat me so bad?
Why do you do us the way you do?
Why you treat me so bad?
I don't know why, America.
Why you treat me so bad? Why you treat me so bad?
Yo, I'm tired of protesting, feel like things don't ever change. Another black life gone and it's never strange. Got victims of the nation that they never claim. Now we got videos, the systems, what they never blame. Make it easy so you act like you ain't never knew. No snitching is the rule, cousin, we ain't never blue. Keep hoping that they fix it, but they never do. The ugly truth is that this country's all about revenue. There's never justice, so there's never peace. No ending to the horror show, it's like it never cease. Got us hoping for solutions that will never be. Got us hoping for a change that we'll never see. They kill us on the daily, blocking interstate. Because you black and they scared, they never hesitate. Melanin in this country ain't never straight. Can you relate? We living in a police state. We keep seeing black death. Burn the page up because it feel like nothing's left. Becoming one with the pain ancestors wept. We shedding tears in our soul quiet as it's kept.
Why you treat me so bad?
I don't know why, baby.
Why you treat me so bad?
Why do you do us the way you do?
Why you treat me so bad?
I don't know why, America.
Why you treat me so bad?
Why you treat me so bad?
Why you treat me so bad?
I don't know why, America.
Why you treat me so bad?
Why do you do us the way you do?
Why you treat me so bad?
I don't know why, America.
Why you treat me so bad?
Why you treat me so bad? Thank you.
Darvis, thank you for sharing your powerful truth. Thank you for sharing your incredible talent. Our music of meditation is another song of hope and moving forward. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. somewhere there is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere.
Let us put hands upon hearts. Feel the warm connection. Let love in this moment flow. Say to yourself, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love will heal the world. At this time, we hear the joys and sorrows of this congregation. We join Ted Minersman in joy as he celebrates the birth of his newest grandson, Elijah William Neely, born at home on Tuesday, June 2nd. He weighed 8 pounds. We send love to Ted, to his daughter Lorraine, Elijah's big brother River, and their dad. We celebrate and send loving energy to Robin Stinson and Kevin James, who are so happy to report that at long last, they have brought Robin's mother here from Florida, and she is settled into a home care they chose for her. She is just right down the street from them. They are relieved and happy. We send our healing love to Bill Tarr, whose best friend, Sam Gray, died. And then 3 days later, Diane Gornell's brother-in-law, Bob Ryan, also died. Sadly, Sam's wife, Betty, couldn't be with him because of the COVID-19 isolation. Fortunately, Diane's sister, Barbara, was able to be with her husband. Please keep Betty, Barbara, Bill, and Diane in your hearts. We share the joy of Jean Woodall, who is thrilled to announce the birth of her first grandchild. A girl, Magnolia Marrier Dunham, was born Friday, June 5th, here in Atlanta. Jean's son and daughter-in-law live in New York, but they came here for the birth so they could be with their grandma. You are invited to say the names of people you are holding in your heart this morning. People who are suffering in anguish, exhaustion, and fury, tired of feeling unsafe, people who need loving, healing energy. Speak their names into this holy moment. Write their names into our live chat now. I'm going to open our prayer for this morning's meditation, which was written by my colleague in Atlanta, Rabbi Josh Lesser. I will open this with a quote from Frederick Douglass. "Source of life, the soul, the breath you have placed within me is pure. The soul that is within me, no person can degrade." Frederick Douglass. Breath of life, we are overcome by grief and fueled by rage over the death of another black person by the lethal grip of our injustice system. That somehow the pure breath and soul bestowed to every human being has been ended by the supremacy riddled throughout our country and our world. Let us honor together for a moment of silence, the memory of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, and all those who have been murdered by the racist systems in our midst. You may add their names into our live chat, into the wise silence. May their memory be a blessing. And Sacred Spirit, bring a shelter of wholeness to our shattered communities. Gather in the Black community under a quilt of wholeness, so that there may be communal places where Black voices are centered, Black anger expressed, Black protest supported, Black trauma healed, Black resilience uplifted, Black spirit celebrated, created in the divine image, placed central in our mind that the breath, the soul of the Black community matters and is beloved. And breath of all breaths, bring a shelter of wholeness to those who seek to be allies. Give us all the patience to listen, the open-heartedness to learn, the honesty to be responsible, the wisdom to look within first, the tenacity to have hard conversations, the moral courage to challenge the status quo and own complicity, the integrity to dismantle the systems that unfairly benefit, the endurance to do the work tomorrow and the day after all the protests have diminished, and the urgency to address racial violence today. Remind us that the oppression of Black people impact all of us, and that like our own breath and soul, Black lives matter. Guide us on common ground with the knowledge that when we advocate for another, we do so for ourselves. Turn our hearts toward one another and fling them open so we may see our humanity. Amen.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Before we begin our story for all ages this morning, I want to remind you that this story will include details of violence and brutality against Black people. So if you've got some people close to you, hold them close. And if you're on your own, maybe this is time for a self-hug as we listen to Laura Beth Brown share this morning's story for all ages.
Good morning. I'm Laura Beth Brown, Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and I want to talk to our kids about what is happening here in Atlanta. As Unitarian Universalists, we promise to speak the truth in love. Sometimes the truth we have to speak is very sad or very complicated or scary or unfair, but we speak the truth in love anyway, because the truth will set us free. And today we are talking about George Floyd. George was a 46-year-old Black man in Minneapolis, Minnesota. His friends called him Big Floyd because he was 6.5 feet tall. As a kid, he loved to play football and basketball. All through his life, he tried to help others by being a good and a generous friend and by accepting people just as they are. 2 weeks ago, George was killed by a white police officer. The police arresting George thought he had used fake money in a store. George was made to lay on the ground in handcuffs, and a police officer bent over and put his knee on George's neck. George told the police officer he couldn't breathe. Some people nearby tried to get the police officer to stop hurting George, but the 3 other police officers there weren't helping either. Even worse, they were keeping others from helping George. And the police officer whose knee was pressing into George's neck didn't stop, and George died. Now, why would a police officer do this? In our country, so many Black people have been killed by the police. We are taught that the police are supposed to protect everyone, but Black people have always been treated unfairly by the police. They are more likely to be accused of things they didn't do, and are more likely to get hurt. And this is very scary because the police have a lot of power and responsibility. Though we all should be able to count on them to be kind and helpful, when the police are around, Black people are often worried. So what does this have to do with our city? Well, so many of us have feelings about George's death, including deep sadness and fear and rage. And you may have heard more sirens and even helicopters in the last 10 days, and that is because people all around the country are protesting George Floyd's death, even here in Atlanta. Here are our neighbors in Dunwoody. They are carrying signs that demand justice for George and for all Black lives. And all 4 officers in Minneapolis have been arrested and charged, and that likely would not have happened if people around the country didn't protest. But many people think it will take more than that for needed change. In fact, last weekend, 2 Black college students simply got caught in traffic near the protests here in Atlanta when police approached their car and eventually removed them with stun guns. Those police have also been charged. We want to live in communities where when someone needs assistance for any reason, no matter who they are, they can count on trained helpers to show up with kindness and concern. Many people are demanding that police become a force that cares and protects everyone equally. They say we might have to start over with a brand new way so that Black people and Indigenous and brown people too can trust community helpers to help everyone. An important question we have is, how can we honor George's life? And first, we can remember him and talk about him like we're doing now. We might find a picture of him and post it somewhere in our home, like this beautiful drawing by Andres Guzman. There's also some amazing graffiti art at the memorial in Minneapolis where George died. When we want to create a sacred space, we can light a candle for George and his family and our whole community. We can say a prayer of hope that George's loved ones will find comfort and that communities everywhere will find justice. God of many names, we know that breath is life. May people everywhere breathe freely. We feel our connection to all of humanity as we breathe in and we breathe out. Maybe so. We can also do something to help. We can make signs that say justice for George, and we can write Black Lives Matter in chalk on our sidewalks. We can write letters to our mayor, to our governor. What happened to George Floyd and what keeps happening to Black communities in our city and in our country is terrible and wrong. Whenever you have questions about it, you can ask us and we will speak the truth in love. Knowing hard things is still easier than having questions we feel we can't ask and have feelings we can't talk about. When you are angry, it is okay to yell and stomp around. If you feel sad, crying helps. And if you are scared, tell your adults so that we can help you feel calmer. Kids, I promise you this. We adults will work as hard as we can to fix these problems by keeping you and ourselves safe, by keeping our hearts open even when they're broken, by lifting up the voices of our wise Black leaders, and by listening for what love is asking us to do next. We love you so much. And the love we feel for you is part of what makes us so determined to build a better world.
Thank you, Laura Beth. I too am a person, an adult who you can talk to if you have questions, and I'm also an adult for the adults who may have questions out there. You can talk to me too. You can always reach me. Email is good. You can call the office. We are all here for you, for each other. This past week, we've felt a lot of pain, rage, exhaustion, and helplessness. And I have seen more of you this week than I have seen in a very, very long time. And I gotta be honest, that was very joyful. On Friday evening, over 50 of us, UUCA members, gathered at our new property at 2650 North Druid Hills Road for a demonstration of our support for Black lives and our call to radically revolutionize systems of policing and injustice that were built upon a slave-based economy. We stood wearing masks, standing 6 feet apart from each other, holding Black Lives Matter signs, and I watched as 55 people who had been isolated and hidden away in their homes for months came to realize that we are about to be more visible than we have been since we left our building on Boulevard Drive in 1965. After months of sheltering at home, truly it was overwhelming. I mean, people would walk down the field to where we were standing and just immediately start crying just to be together. And over the course of 4 hours, I want to tell you that hundreds of people honked their support. They beeped their horns in support. It was kind of mind-blowing. Some people drove back and forth on North Druid Hills many times to honk their support again. Some slowed the entire flow of traffic. This is a very fast street, to video us with their phones to say thank you, thank you. A few people pulled over and joined our demonstration for a while. We had extra signs for them. One white lady drove to Target, picked up water and snacks, and drove back and dropped it off for us with an emotional, quiet, thank you for being here. And at shift change across the street at the Fountain View Center for Alzheimer's, across the street from our new property, Black staff walked out of their workday, and we could see the shock and joy register on their faces when they saw all those signs. They whooped and hollered as they walked out, shouting thank you, honking their horns as they peeled away. And I'm not lifting up these stories as performative activism. I am telling you that for 4 hours, we let Atlanta know that people don't just call for justice downtown. They don't just call for justice in Decatur Square, but they call for justice out in the suburbs too, up and down all the streets, and it cannot be escaped. We are everywhere crying out. I saw this congregation pull together to express both pain and resolve. I saw us come alive. And the neighbors came out from all sides with homemade signs for them and their children, and they joined us. To have neighbors, it will be beautiful. In a moment of spiritual restlessness, deep devastation for a brief time, we all felt the joy of being together again. I heard one congregant laugh. It's just so good to be with people. After a long winter of being hidden, we revealed ourselves and our values to our new corner of the world, and it was beautiful. There are so many ways you can help to keep UUCA strong, to keep us going. You can go to uuca.org/give and find links to PayPal and other ways to contribute. You can still mail your gift into UUCA at our mailing address. To support the mission and ministries of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta, this morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received.
This is a song I wrote that would not have to exist if white supremacy were not the order of the day. It's been the order of the day since it ripped through the lives and the world of the indigenous peoples of these lands on which we all live. May they know justice. May they know peace. White supremacy has been the order of the day since it ripped through the lives and the world of my ancestors who were brought here 400 years ago to subsidize white life. I sing this song because I'm tired and I'm angry. My people, Black people, have been endowing this country for hundreds of years with our soul, with the artfulness of our living in this place that doesn't mean for us to be alive. And the whole world knows it because the whole world is endowed, is blessed with the soulfulness and artfulness of our living. I sing this song because this country doesn't deserve Black people. I sing this song because my people's lives and life chances are pilfered and straight out taken on a daily basis. And the charade has been over. We know who life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness was meant for. I sing this song to fight. This is a song called Makers, and it is about Black ingenuity, Black resilience, Black love, and Black power. A mic, some records, a turntable. Oh, you moved us with your rhymes, smooth as sable. Oh, the beats boomed away, away, out of nowhere. Hear what I say. Don't you know all empty hands ain't empty? Some are so full of hunger, they grow teeth, teeth where teeth don't grow, grow. With two hearts, one love, and a broom, broom. You took what was fractured and was doomed, doomed, and repaired it with your love. Your love, Black love, resilient and tough. Don't you know all empty hands ain't empty? Some are so full of hunger, they grow teeth, teeth where teeth don't grow, grow. Wait a minute now. 1, 2, 3, 4. The raw deal's raw material. Hey, the raw deal is raw material. The raw deal is raw material.
The raw deal is raw material.
Raw material.
The raw deal is raw material.
Raw material.
The raw deal is raw material.
It's raw material.
The raw deal is raw material.
Raw material.
The raw deal is raw material.
The raw deal
It's wrong. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, with our lives, our anger, our resolve, oh, we'll make a way out of no way. You hear me? Yo, we've done this all before. Oh, Lord, must we do it some more? See, I get tired, but then I know all empty hands ain't empty. Some are so full of hunger, they grow wings, 'cause the people could fly.
It's the only bowl I could find, and I wanted to hold a bowl. Because this moment, this community does contain multitudes. And I don't always know if what we're trying to do is possible or even the right thing. Sometimes I too question, can we have a multiracial, religious community with different beliefs? Is that what we're meant to do? It is so hard. It is a lot of work. It is struggle. And I believe in it. I am so grateful to be a part of a congregation that includes Shawna and your powerful gifts. And Darvis, I'm blown away. I didn't even know your talent. But not even your talent, just your life, just your being. It is so beautiful. It is such a blessing. The diversity we can nurture in our congregation is a blessing to us, but also to the world. And I think we can do this. I believe in us. Blessings on your generosity that makes it possible. Blessings on this gift this morning. May it go far and wide to create the kingdom of heaven on earth, to create this beloved community for real. Please join me now in the offering words that are on the screen. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
This morning's readings are the words of Al Sharpton at the funeral of George Floyd. The reason this got to me is that George Floyd's story has been the story of black folk. Ever since 401 years ago, the reason we could never be who we wanted to be and dream of being is you kept your knee on our necks. We were smarter than the underfunded schools you put us in, but you had your knee on our neck. We could run corporations and not hustle in the street, but you had your knee on our necks. We had creative skills. We could do whatever anybody else could do. But we couldn't get your knee off our necks. What happened to George Floyd happens every day in this country, in education, in health services, and in every area of American life. It's time to stand up in George's name and say, get your knee off our necks.
Yes. Thank you, Darvis. You know, in times such as these, I like to take an extra long view at the history of humanity and how it's found its way out of oppression, out of slavery into something new, wilderness, and then freedom. This week, on May 30th, was the beginning of the Jewish festival of Shavuot, beginning at sundown May 30th, about 5 days after George Floyd's death. Shavuot focuses on Moses receiving the tablets of the law. And a very fascinating part of this story is when Moses shatters the Torah. Descending Mount Sinai, Moses sees the golden calf that the Israelites had made while he was gone. A mortal sin, according to the Torah, he's carrying in his hand, and so he decides not to give it to them. The Midrash explains, Moses started to turn back, but the elders saw him and ran after him. Moses held on to one side of the tablets, they held on to the other, but Moses was stronger. He looked at the tablets and noticed that the writing had disappeared from them. How can I give the Israelites blank tablets, he thought, and decided it would be better to break them instead. Blank tablets aren't simply tablets lacking inscriptions. They are also tablets written in a language people no longer speak or understand. The revelation had to be disassembled and then reassembled to bring meaning to the people. And when teaching this midrash to rabbis in New Jersey, Rabbi Danielle Hartman challenged them by saying, every generation must ask what part of the Torah they are willing to break to stand beside their people. The disassembling and reassembling of Torah in every generation is part of the sacred narrative and destiny of the Jewish people. It is the source of their continuity, not their dissolution. And so this morning, I want to ask you, what have you held sacred? What law, particularly, have you held sacred that you are willing to break with, to stand beside your people? Trust in the law, a love of order? If our shattered nation fails to reimagine itself, the consequences will be dire and devastating. The same is true of our UU tradition. I'm not here this morning to convince you that Black Lives Matter or to explain the history of the police state and its foundational design as a slave patrol. When during pre-Civil War era, white men were appointed to serve as slave patrols, and their function was to police enslaved Black people. Those patrols would barge into homes of Black people, seize their belongings, beat them or flog them. They would also question, search, and harass Black people if they saw them on the street. Does this sound familiar? I'm not here to convince you that our 7 principles cannot provide cover for the work that is ours as a largely white liberal congregation situated in a largely multiracial city whose diversity is not fully reflected in our own community. It's not. Because I have witnessed that you can say you believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and you can still say things and do things that are degrading and dismissive of the people of color in your own community. I've witnessed it. If the 7 principles covered all of our bases, well, we would not have Black Unitarian Universalists across the country demanding we consider an 8th principle. The 8th principle, which affirms that we are journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. That's the 8th principle. Now, I like this language because we are journeying towards spiritual wholeness. We are working on it. You know, and I'm a little embarrassed and ashamed that it took a week like this to give me the moral courage to say to you, this is the 8th principle. And it deserves your attention. And actually, I believe we should wholeheartedly support it as a congregation now. That choice will be yours. But it is high time I said that from this pulpit. And I know there's a lot of exhaustion out there. I know. I have heard from our beloved Black members of UUCA that they don't feel surprised by George Floyd's manner of death, nor Ahmaud Arbery's down in Georgia, nor Breonna Taylor's, nor others of late. But they are, though they are not surprised, they are filled with fury and exhaustion. One Black member told me she was engaged the other day in a mutual compassion meditation group online, yet she could not access the compassion meditation because how could she see someone's humanity when she doesn't know if they see her as human? White supremacy is spiritual warfare. And to our Black UUCA members, I witness your overwhelm, your crippling fear for your own safety and the safety of your families, and the exhaustion of being misunderstood, misnamed, and microaggressed. I witness you showing up anyway, and I call your presence sacred. I have heard from Indigenous and non-Black people of color in our congregation, and I witness your struggle for justice and action in solidarity, and I call it sacred. I have heard from transgender friends and gender non-binary members of UCA your feelings of erasure and hopelessness, that there may be no place where you can feel free and safe. And when your trans friends or community members are killed or violated, it barely makes the news anymore. I witness your effort teaching others to accept and understand you, and I call it sacred. I have heard from friends in the disability community at UUCA that this congregation has singled you out as a burden or an afterthought, has not made a way for you to thrive comfortably and safely here. I hear your demand for true justice, and I call it sacred. And I have heard from our white congregants that you feel helpless and confused, lonely and ashamed, pained by knowing your actions and words have caused harm to others who you seek to befriend. I hear your overwhelm when called to begin shedding the cloak of privilege and the advantages white supremacy has afforded you. I witness your desire to learn and grow, and I call it sacred. This is where we are, and this is what we are doing. It is tempting for me to describe the kingdom of heaven here on earth, the beloved community of neighbors who trade in mutual aid, the neighborhood care groups and centers employing social workers and nurses with Narcan and clean needles and conflict resolution skills right down at the end of every street, so we hardly need police at all. I actually wrote a different sermon all about that vision, but I can't give that sermon today because that is political hope, as Reverend Karen Hutt, my Unitarian Universalist black colleague, says, and political hope is killing black people while it keeps them in the waiting room for the world that is to come. We owe it to each other to liberate one another from white supremacist ideologies and white privilege today, now, while we are here. We don't need a political hope that asks us to wait while we wait for the process, while we white people have our knees on our beloved friends' necks. We need a hope that is actionable today. We don't need love that can't tell the difference between one prominent black male UUCA leader and another. We need a committed love that takes time and gets to know each other. We need to stop and really meet each other and ourselves deeply and meaningfully. Karen Hutt asks us to go now and try for a day what it is like to let go of political hope and imagine the creation of a spiritual, human, life-centered, life-giving hope that is rooted in the reality of the world we have and not the world we dream of. Ooh, and I think I've been guilty of that political hope from right here in this pulpit, friends. You know, a few nights ago, I attended a clergy-led protest at Central Presbyterian Church where I heard Atlanta Muslim leader Abdullah Jabbar lament that we are late to this moment of reckoning and revolution. In fact, he said, we are 400 years, 8 minutes, and 46 seconds too late. And as helicopters flew above us and protesters chanted and National Guard troops stood guard in front of the Capitol building, protecting the people's house from the people, he said this. And then Reverend Duncan Teague, Reverend Megan Lloyd Joyner, and I marched with all the other clergy from Central Presbyterian down to Centennial Park to the outskirts of the large protest. And at the edge of all of that beautiful chaos of young people chanting, shouting the language of the unheard, we formed a giant circle on the pavement and we knelt in silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which is how long the officer kneeled on George Floyd's neck, stopping his breath. As I kneeled, my discomfort turned to pain on the pavement, my knees burning for relief and not finding it. As the minutes wore on, 8 minutes and 46 seconds felt like an eternity, and it was not. To quote my colleague, Reverend Megan Lloyd Joyner, it was not an eternity because then it was over and we stood. George Floyd did not. We moved aside. She describes how we moved aside to let the next wave of protesters march peacefully through that section of street, and we went home before curfew. As we drove home in the pouring rain, this happened to us too, a rainbow appeared in front of us. The asphalt may have left marks on Megan's legs and my legs too, and the 8 minutes and 46 seconds left its mark on my heart. 8 minutes, 46 seconds, and 400 years. It's beyond late. And because it is beyond late, and because you are a people who seek dignity for all, who love justice, who commit to the life we have been given here on earth, because you are a Unitarian Universalist who has proclaimed your life shall speak for you, you must do better than you have done. As Maya Angelou says, do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. That's where that phrase comes from. Sometimes you hear people say, you got to do better. Comes from Maya Angelou saying that. And in a multiracial community, we acknowledge that the work is different for all of us. For white people who need to heal from the legacies of white supremacy, part of our work listen up now, part of our work is to access our sacred humility. We need to step back, be quiet, and listen to the voices of Black people, people of color, transgender friends at UUCA. And for a people who love to talk and who are used to being heard and who struggle with not being the authority, this will not be as easy as it sounds. To access sacred humility. But it is a beautiful, self-loving act, this humility we seek. To surrender to something beyond ourselves can mean surrendering to an inner quiet. Hearing something new along your free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Something perhaps painful. Something you may want to run away from. I ask you to stay in it with humility. Sacred humility. Because it could transform you. And by doing so, transform us all. Let others speak. Let others lead. And friends, as a congregation, I would like for us to commit to stop calling the police, to call each other instead. Do you know why I want us to be organized into neighborhood circles? Because I want us to really know each other in this large, spread out congregation as neighbors. Truly, to know one another. And I want us to rely on one another, to see each other as safe when we're out there and when we're in here. If you are alone and scared in your home because someone is approaching your property, I want you to call each other. And I want us to get trained in conflict resolution. I want us to be more than community members or congregants. I want us to be neighbors. Look, I've called the police once in DeKalb County, and I didn't hear from them for 25 minutes. I know a neighbor could have come quicker, no doubt. And to my Black congregants out there, I want your congregation and your UU faith to be a place of complete safety and total liberation. I want you to feel uplifted, honored, and heard. Your radical honesty and your expression of your spirit belong here. And I commit to nurturing your spirit. I do wish we were together right now. I wish I could see your face and how this is sitting with you. The separateness is the hardest thing. We are all hurting. May we hold hope in our action we can take to bring about a better world now, where not one more life is lost to white supremacist policing or white supremacist Americans. May we freely feel the freedom to feel it all, feel everything we're going through, and in feeling it all, may you find freedom. Last week, Reverend Jonathan Rogers inspired us with Brian Stevenson's words to get proximate. And in our multiracial congregation, many of us are proximate with people of color or people who are different from ourselves. But in addition to getting proximate, I need to add to that we also must stay accountable to that relationship, always seeking respect and earning trust. Trust that is never taken for granted. It is always earned again and again over the course of the relationship. I do believe we are now shattered pieces. The traditions, the institutions, the leadership in our government, and now the patterns of our daily life have all fractured. And I am ready to reassemble the fragmented pieces, to do the hard work of building trust, fighting for equity, listening humbly and quietly, and finding hope in continued actions of reconciliation now. A powerful narrative of actionable hope is awaiting inscription on our generation's tablets. It comes with considerable risk. It comes with some loss and the potential for great reward when we all are free. Let us walk together in step with the heartbeat of each other's struggles. Impress upon us that silence in the face of bigotry and racism is a burden our souls cannot bear. Make the restlessness rise within us so that we have no choice but to risk acting with courage and responsibility for the security and well-being of each other. When we do this together, no obstacle is insurmountable. Together in trust, may we rise, banishing hatred and violence with unwavering love and justice for ourselves and for the soul of one another. Only then will we know we are living the legacy of the beloved community. Amen. May it be so. Blessed be.
Amen. Thank you for joining us in this very powerful service. Our final hymn, our third hymn of hope today, was written by African-American composer Billy Taylor during the Civil Rights Movement. He wrote the song for his daughter. It's called "I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free."
I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all these chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things I could say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear for the whole world to hear. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear for the whole world to hear. I wish I could share all the love in my heart. Remove all the bars that still keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and agree everyone should be free. Then you'd see and agree everyone should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things I can do. Though I'm way overdue, I'll be starting anew. Though I'm way overdue, I'll be starting anew. I wish I could be like the bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing 'cause I'd know what it is to be free. Then I'd sing 'cause I'd know what it is to be free.
Our spiritual takeaway this morning is one that will continue on each week. And as long as you stay committed to this faith, to hope that is actionable, get proximate. Get proximate with someone who you don't know, someone who maybe has a different life experience from you. Get proximate, but earn trust too. Earn that respect and trust again and again through deep relationship. I do believe all things are possible through relationship. It is time for us to be brave and to take action that supports our hope. And so each week we will be releasing new actions for you to do. Some from home, some may require you to come out like we did on Friday. Some will be connected to voting. There will be a diversity of tactics. It will take each of us doing many different things over time to bring the change we demand now. I'm so grateful to be in this journey with you and for a community that inspires us to do better, to be more humble and more brave. We will extinguish this chalice, but not the commitment that we have claimed here today. That commitment we will carry with us. That resolve we will keep with us in our hearts and in our actions for the hope that we return to. Amen. Blessed be. Go in peace. Go in love.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. to be free.
We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need.
Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building. We're building a new way. Yeah, I heard it. We're building us a new way. Yeah, I heard it on the front line. That we're building us a new way.
You are the new day, new day, you are the new day. I will love you more than me and more than yesterday. If you can but prove to me you are the new day. Send the sun in time for dawn. Let the birds all hail the morning. Love of life will urge me, say, you are the new day. When I lay me down at night, knowing we must fade, thought occur that this night might stay yesterday. Thoughts that we as humans small could slow worlds and end it all. Lie around me where they fall before the new day. One more day when time is running out for everyone. Like a breath I knew would come, I reach for a new day. Hope is my philosophy, just needs days in which to be. Love of life means hope for me, born on a new day. You are the new day. You are the new day. This little light of mine, shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Shine, let it shine. Oh, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world. Let it shine. 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 Walk down that lonesome road all by yourself. Don't turn your head back over your shoulder, and only stop to rest yourself when the silver moon is shining high above the trees. If I had stopped to listen once or twice, if I had closed my mouth and opened my eyes, if I had cooled my head and warmed my heart, I'd not be on this road tonight. Carry on, never run feeling sorry for yourself. It doesn't save you from your troubled mind. Walk down that lonesome road all by yourself. Don't turn your head back over your shoulder, and only stop to rest yourself when the silver moon is shining high above the trees.
so brilliantly raining down over you and me. Have you ever wanted more? Wanted more? You've got to keep your mind wide open, all the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open, believe in what you see. Think of all the days you've wasted, worrying, wondering, hopelessly hoping. Think of all the time ahead. Don't hesitate, contemplate. No, it's not too late. Have you ever wanted more? Don't you know there's so much more? You've got to keep your mind wide open, all the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes
So